Paul Hamilton joining the show now on the Wester Hotline. Good morning. It's a beautiful Monday. Good morning,
Joe,
Paul.
How you doing, Joe?
Pretty good.
Don't you think if the NHL GM tried to do a 7-team trade like the NBA, their heads would explode?
Good Lord, Paul. I mean, it would. I think they'd all quit on the spot, like just upon trying it. Has there even ever been? There's been 3-team trades, right?
Yeah, I don't know how far, how many, but not 7.
No.
That I know of.
7. The amount of effort that would even take in the first place. Part of that, too, is the NBA rules, Paul, are so complicated with trades and salary matching and, One thing the NHL might have going for itself is it's easier to follow as a fan because it's a little bit more simple with the contracts, at least.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, no, definitely not more than a 3-team. I don't think I've ever seen in the NHL. Paul Hamilton joining now on the Wester Hotline. So some things that happened over the weekend. Paul, the Sabres electing to take Bowen Byram to arbitration. Conor Timmins electing to go to arbitration on his end. So where do you want to start? Start with Byram and I guess why you see the Sabres did this, or what the reason is for why they would have wanted to do this.
Well, they don't have to sit around and worry about an offer sheet now. That some outrageous thing would be coming their way, because usually that's what happens with an offer sheet. So and sometimes it gets very outrageous, like for the first year of the contract or something, just to make it so the other team, it makes it impossible or near impossible to try to match it, so they don't have to deal with that anymore. And they get financial, certainty now. Now it's on, and Byram, he can elect to either take a 1 or a 2-year arbitration settlement, and then that'll be his salary. Now that doesn't mean he still can't, demand a trade and want to be traded, and that doesn't mean the Sabres won't trade him. They could trade him before arbitration. They could trade him afterwards. It also gives, the other team they're trying to trade with some cost certainty for 1 or 2 years. And it doesn't, you're not really walking them to unrestricted free agency, because even if it's a 2-year contract, you can do what the Sabres are doing with Tuck right now, or another team could. With 1 year remaining on the contract, you can start negotiating with him a long-term deal, or trade him. If you can't come up with a deal. So that really, I don't think, matters one way or the other. You can. It's not like he will hit unrestricted free agency and there's nothing you can do about it. Whatever team has him at the time can, as I said, 1 year in advance, they can negotiate, or if that negotiation isn't going to happen, they can trade him.
Do you think Byram could, because we don't know yet, right, whether he's opting for 1 or 2 years on this?
That's correct. He can wait till after the hearing.
Gotcha. Do you think it would be in his interest at all to maybe even go for the 1 year? Because am I right in that if he said, all right, I'll do 1 year, and if they trade me, then I'm eligible to sign an extension with the team immediately?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he can go with 1 year, and I don't know from his aspect what would be better. It depends what the money is, what the arbitrator decides on. If you go by, some of the websites who try to say what players are worth, his worth and on some sites is around $5.3 million on a 1 year contract.
Mm-hmm.
Now those are just guidelines. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. What players actually get, but that's what people are figuring he's worth on a 1 year deal. But so I don't know how he feels one way or the other. The thing is, the trade can still happen no matter what happens in arbitration. So.
Right.
They may feel too that, all right, another team now knows what they're getting, at least for a year or a 2 year contract, whatever it might be. Right now, they don't know exactly unless they get into a negotiation with Byram, which I would assume the Sabres would allow. If they find a trade that they would like, they'd be idiots not to let the other team, negotiate with Bowen Byram to try to come to contract terms, similar to, J.J. Peterka. When they traded J.J. Peterka, the contract basically was in place. That the Utah, and J.J. Peterka, obviously the Sabres had given permission for them to talk, and he had a contract almost immediately.
Yeah. Do you think, Paul, that they have maybe misstepped, or this would be tough to know because you don't know what's on the table for them at the outset? But I guess how would you see where they stand now, having this player still, having this asset that we all think they would like to trade, but maybe there are a lot fewer bidders now than there would have been a month ago? Just kind of the timing of it all and the fact that he is still here and what kind of market could still be out there for them. I don't know how true this is around the league, but I know here it often feels like when you get to this week, the week after free agency, I think most teams are typically done or pretty close to done with what they've done in the offseason.
Well, and like after the first day of free agency, I think more teams might be in on it because they didn't get who they wanted, in free agency. And I suppose, we're 6 days out of free agency now. Maybe there's still teams that are looking for a defenseman that didn't get what they wanted in free agency. But there were some guys signed in free agency, like at the end of last week, which, but the Sabres were holding their salary cap open, so they didn't, bid on a $6.5 million player, or, or would that $6.5 million player even come here? Who knows? So they limited themselves that way. I know there's a lot of snarking about the Sabres and what they're doing here and what they've done, and they've blown the whole thing. On July 7th, I don't have any idea if they've blown the whole thing. We kind of have to see how this comes out. Whether he gets traded, whether he winds up playing here for another year. I think they have to see how this shakes, or I have to see how this shakes out and what the end is going to be. There's too many different endings that can happen here.
Sure.
Whether how much salary cap space they're going to have. Well, Byram could eat up some of that space, or they can make a trade, and other players could eat up some of that space, or nobody's going to eat up part of that space. There's just so many ways this could end that, right now, for me, my opinion's on a holding pattern.
Yeah, if they are around that, $5.5, $6 million, even if it's up to $7 million, depending on what the arbitrator decides. That's if they get there, right? Like a lot of times it doesn't even happen.
True.
If he's here, Paul, for this season, he's probably, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's probably playing with Dahlin, just looking at how the roster currently looks on paper. And really, they might be incentivized to do that. If they still would like to do a trade at some point, that can happen in the season. And last year, I don't think anyone would dispute, he looked at his best when he was with Dahlin, and they could kind of free flow, move around each zone very actively. And then when they took him away from Dahlin, it just didn't look the same. So I don't know. One of those endings that you mentioned, I feel like he's here, and someone could argue that he's only doing it because of who his partner is, but I feel like he'll be playing with a guy he's going to get good results with.
Yeah, the only thing he's not going to do, I think he would like to be on the power play, when he wants a bigger role, which isn't going to happen unless there's an injury. Lindy Ruff has said since he arrived back here for his second stint that he believes in analytics and pays attention to them. If that's the case, then Bowen Byram is playing with Dahlin. It's simple as that. Why wouldn't you? I think Kesselring is a good match for power. So why wouldn't you? I don't know why you wouldn't put him with Dahlin, and then your third pair would be Timmins with Samuelson or Timmins with Ryan Johnson. And off you go. So I don't know why, because, and I know Lindy Ruff likes left-handed shots and right-handed shots, but Dahlin's fine on the right side, and numbers prove that he's fine on the right side. The eye test and the numbers agree that he's fine over there. So I don't think it has to be, well, we just have to have a left-handed shooting defenseman with a right-handed shooting defenseman. I don't think that has to be when we're talking about Rasmus Dahlin.
Paul Hamilton with us on the West Her Hotline. So the Byram situation continues, and we'll see if they get to arbitration. By the way, do you know when the end of July, Paul, usually?
Yeah, it starts July 20. I'm not going to guess. It's July 20-something.
Okay.
I can look it up real quick. And then the hearings go into the first week in August. So
Gotcha.
They could be scheduled and haven't been released yet. Usually the NHLPA will release that, or they're still trying to get those things, scheduled, and then they'll release what it is.
So the other story here is about Conor Timmins, and he did elect for arbitration?
Yes, he did. He was $1.1 million last year on the salary cap. So I don't think it's going to be an outrageous number, and he will eat up a little bit of their salary cap.
Yeah,
not a lot. I mean, even if he gets $2 million, I mean, he's still going to eat up a little bit of the hearings are between July 20th and August 4th.
Right. So Timmins, who everyone expects, I think, to play on the third pair to start the year, traded for during the draft, and then that's kind of it, right, Paul? Like, the only other contract to figure out would be Devin Levi, and I don't think there's really much to do there unless he doesn't. There's nothing he could really even do, right? Like if he was, oh man, you signed Alex Lyon, and now my spot in the NHL is tougher to acquire. In one, I don't know that he would approach it that way anyway. And if he did, I mean, like you can't really do anything about it. They've got your rights.
Yeah, they do. And Levi has no leverage whatsoever. Not like Alex Tuck, who, in my opinion, has all the leverage. Levi really doesn't have any leverage at all. What's he going to do, hold out?
Right.
I mean, that at this point in his development, I don't think that's a good idea for him. So, he doesn't have the leverage. But, I think, now's the time they should be negotiating with Tuck, which they will be, and Michael Kesselring. You can do the same thing with him right now, too. And you could get him signed to an extension also. So if it were me, I would be talking with both players' agents.
And Tuck, I would assume, would be their priority one right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, he is. And players understand, even though it's July 1st, but they got to get through free agency and that kind of stuff first. Now's the time to be sitting down with Alex Tuck's agent. And as Adam said, and I have no reason not to believe him, that they already let Alex Tuck personally know and the agent know how they feel about him and that he is a top priority for them. And Tuck knows that. So just because they might have waited a week here to get themselves through free agency and this Byram thing, there isn't a deadline for this. They've got a year if they want it. I mean, I would say all summer. I don't know if Alex Tuck would be real excited to have his team negotiating through the season. Some players are okay with that. Some players aren't. There's no deadline for that, and I'm sure he understands that there were things they had to get through before they can actually sit down and have some hard talks.
A week after free agency open, Paul, was there? You often say it's silly season. Was there a contract you saw this week that was way too much from when you saw it for the first time? I feel like the Ehlers contract, which was the biggest one, I think, in total value, actually wasn't as bad as maybe it could have been. I was wondering if he might even get like 10, but he didn't. He did not get that.
You know why I don't think it became silly season? Because so many players re-signed
with their own
team
teams
discounts.
Yeah.
Even if you look at the contracts they re-signed with their teams, a lot of them gave Ekblad. They all gave the team right. They all gave teams that they wanted to stay with kind of hometown discounts. So not all of them, but most of them. So I didn't even see any, in my opinion, really silly contracts on that side of it either. But unrestricted free agency basically was blown up by July 1st.
Yeah.
Because of all the players that re-signed with their teams. There just weren't that many star free agents left on the market. Even Brock Besser shocked everybody by re-signing with Vancouver. They thought they were at odds. A lot of people thought they were at odds, and that would never happen, and they're mad at each other and the rest of it. But sure enough, he re-signed with Vancouver, so I guess you can't always believe what you see. That was a bit shocking. So, yeah, I think the reason for that this year is I don't think there's ever been a year where so many players re-signed with their teams before July 1st.
Yeah, that's where I saw a tweet over the weekend, Paul, like, ooh, look at next year's free agency class, and it's headlined by like McDavid and Eichel, and it's okay. What are the odds though that these players are actually going to make it? Maybe one of them does. I don't know, but you're not getting like that whole list that ends up making it. Guys will re-sign.
The only way McDavid and Eichel make it to free agency is if they don't want to play for their teams anymore. Now, in Eichel's case, I don't have any indication whatsoever. He likes playing in Vegas and likes the way he's been treated there. So now that could turn bad. Who knows? But so I would be shocked if they didn't work out a deal. And I don't know how McDavid feels about playing in Edmonton, quite honestly. I know he didn't feel fantastic about it. I mean, if you saw the look on his face when the lottery happened, he looked like, huh? He and Bettman looked like they saw a ghost. Bettman didn't look real happy either. And McDavid wanted to play in Buffalo. If you remember, Erie played, I think it was a preseason game here, and I remember the press conference where he showed up and was really excited about Buffalo and everything, and he was hoping that the Sabres won the lottery. That's where he wanted to go, and the next thing you know, he's in Edmonton. So, honestly, I really don't know if we know or if anybody knows how he feels about playing at Edmonton.
Yeah. On the Eichel thing too, Paul, I agree with you. Like, I don't see any reason why he would want to leave Vegas. The only thing though that I've always thought with him is like, does he have a strong motivation to go home, to go to Boston? But even that, like, if he does, what if the Bruins are terrible this year? He's going to sign up to go play for a team that has like 70 points. I guess it depends how good you think the Bruins are, though.
Well, he did that once,
right? So
he went through the no with the Sabres, no playoffs.
Right.
It's like the hope. Well, there's hope. Well, this year, they've got this player. Well, there's hope.
Yeah.
Oh, there's O'Reilly here. Well, there's hope. Well,
and that kind of feels like Boston a little bit right now.
Yeah, we all know what happened with Hope. So he's done the Hope thing.
Yeah.
Now maybe he's willing to do it again, I suppose, if he could go home. But he's always said such glowing things. He truly seems very happy.
Yeah.
In Vegas, and even when you see him talk about it, the look on his face, I don't think he's BSing. I think he truly is happy playing there.
All right, Paul. Glad to hear you in a good mood. I'm assuming that's because the Yankees finally got a win last night. It had been a minute.
Did you see the play that Bellinger made?
I saw people tweeting about it relentlessly, and I meant to look at it, and I haven't. So I'll do that right now.
I did put it out there. I did retweet it if you want to take a look at it. It's one of the best plays. Not only the catch was phenomenal basically.
Yeah.
But to throw it from left field, and Goldschmidt actually, he kind of deked Lindor because he didn't put his glove up until the very last second. And then he put his glove up. So Lindor, who's looking at Goldschmidt, doesn't know the ball's coming.
Right.
And it is like an absolute missile that is right on the money. I was just as impressed with the throw as I was with the catch, but I did tweet it out yesterday if anybody wants to see it.
I wonder if Goldschmidt does that on purpose, like waits until because you're right, Lindor is very casual going into first because I don't think he expects that there's a throw, a second behind him.
I don't remember which Yankee announcer said it, but they felt he did.
Okay.
Because he's like a fantastic first baseman. He made a double play later, an absolute shot at him. He was able to stab, and of course he wound up. The runner who at first base was basically standing next to him when he made the play, so he just turned around and tagged him for the double play. So he really made a couple of plays because the Yankees have been horrendous defensively, just absolutely horrendous defensively, especially recently. Their shortstop can't make a play to save his life. And to make two sparkling defensive plays that they probably lose the game if they don't make those two plays. And I'll just quickly say, Dominguez, that experiment has to stop. I know he's hitting well. He makes too many misjudgments in left field that cost them outs. They're not errors, but he takes the wrong route to a ball and he doesn't catch it. You've got one of the best outfielders in baseball. Bellinger should never be on the bench, and he's actually hot right now. I mean, they got to go with those three outfielders that they have and forget about Dominguez. I don't care if he's young. I don't care whatever. He kills them defensively, and I think he's part of the reason why they are no longer in first place because of his defense.
All right. Yankees takes. I love it from Paul. 3 games back at Toronto. I would have takes too if I were a Yankee fan. Thank you, Paul.
Take care.
Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline. Yeah, the Blue Jays, 3 games up. I am going to definitely get to go see one of their games. They also are hitting and scoring like crazy. I guess the last couple games were a little more tame, but before that it was 8 runs, 11 runs, 12 runs. So there's a 9 run in there. Good baseball right now up in Toronto.